It's not manipulation if you see it coming, but most men don't because they mistake emotional chaos for passion. She pulls away to make you chase. She criticizes to make you prove your worth. She creates distance, then demands closeness on her terms. Sound familiar? These are not random habits. They're strategies, and there are 8 psychological red flags that expose exactly how she's pulling the strings while making you feel like it's your fault. Once you understand the pattern, you won't just spot manipulation, you'll become immune to it. Before we go deeper, take a second to anchor yourself here. This conversation might sting, but it's meant to open your eyes. Tap like if you're ready to protect your peace, and subscribe if you're done repeating the same painful patterns. Then answer this in the comments, yes or no. Have you ever felt like you were being tested in a relationship without realizing it? I'll explain why that question matters, and how one simple reaction determines whether she respects you or starts controlling you. Number 1, disrespect. It always starts small, a sarcastic comment about someone you know, a mocking laugh at the waiter who mixed up her drink, a story about her ex told with venom instead of closure. You tell yourself it's harmless, just personality, just humor. But disrespect is never casual. It's a test. When a woman disrespects others in front of you, she's not revealing their character. She's revealing hers. That moment is a subtle evaluation of your boundaries. She's asking one question without saying it. What will you let me get away with? You see, women don't test your strength through conflict. They test it through compliance. The instant you stay silent while she mocks someone, she learns something important. That disrespect is tolerated. And once it's tolerated, it grows. What starts as a laugh at another man's expense eventually becomes a smirk at yours. Disrespect isn't about anger. It's about hierarchy. It's the quiet attempt to take the dominant seat in the dynamic. And most men fail this test because they mistake silence for composure. You're not being calm. You're being trained. A woman who cannot respect others will not respect you. The pattern is predictable. She'll belittle, justify, then invert the blame when you finally react. You'll be told you're too sensitive or can't take a joke. That's not humor. It's control disguised as personality. When she speaks ill of her ex, don't think you're the exception. You're just the next chapter. The way someone talks about their past tells you exactly how they'll narrate your story once you become theirs. Respect isn't requested, it's enforced. You don't argue for it, you walk away when it's missing. A woman who can humiliate her ex will humiliate you next. And if you ever find yourself explaining why you deserve respect, understand this: you've already lost it. Number 2, no self-accountability. She's always the victim. Every story begins the same way. Someone wronged her, betrayed her, misunderstood her. Every ex was toxic. Every friendship ended because the other person changed. And in every situation, she somehow walks away spotless, perfectly blameless, perfectly innocent. At first, you feel sympathy. You want to be the man who finally treats her right, who finally gives her the love she deserves. But that sympathy will soon become your leash, because the woman who never takes responsibility for her own chaos will always find someone else to clean it up. In psychology, it's called the victim complex, a defense mechanism built to protect the ego from shame. For her, accountability feels like humiliation, so she rewrites reality instead. She edits her life until she's always right, and everyone else becomes the villain. When you step into her world, you enter her script. And in that story, you're not her partner, you're the scapegoat. She'll cry, you'll comfort her, she'll explode, you'll apologize. You'll start adjusting yourself around her emotions like you're walking barefoot on glass. And slowly, you'll start believing that peace only exists when you take the blame. But here's the truth: you can't build a future with someone who rewrites the past to stay innocent. No relationship survives without 2 people willing to own their mistakes. Love without accountability is just manipulation with better packaging. Men lose themselves in these dynamics because they confuse empathy with rescue. You think you're healing her, but all you're doing is feeding the illusion that she's never wrong. And once she's comfortable in that illusion, she'll destroy you for breaking it. So pay attention to how she speaks about her past. Does she learn from it or weaponize it? A woman who runs from self-reflection will eventually make you her mirror, and when that day comes, she won't look at you with love. She'll look at you with blame. Number 3, lack of commitment. You meet her and it feels effortless. She's charming, magnetic, full of energy. But when the topic turns serious, future plans, consistency, accountability, she shifts the conversation. I'm just not ready for anything serious. I want to enjoy life. Let's just go with the flow. Men hear that and think maybe later. But later never comes. Because her fear isn't about timing. It's about priority. You're not too early. You're just not essential. This isn't about modern freedom or independence. It's about control. Commitment demands vulnerability, and vulnerability means surrendering power. For a woman who's been hurt or who equates closeness with weakness, that surrender feels like danger, so she keeps her options open, always halfway in, halfway out. She'll praise her standards, but in truth, she's avoiding the emotional investment that commitment requires. That's why she thrives in uncertainty. It allows her to remain desired without ever being accountable. In psychology, this is called avoidant attachment. It's the pattern of someone who wants connection but fears being known. They crave love, yet sabotage stability. And when you try to define the relationship, she'll tell you, labels ruin things. No, labels don't ruin love. Lack of clarity does. You'll notice she talks often about how many men want her. That's not confidence. It's validation disguised as empowerment. She feeds on attention because attention keeps her from confronting emptiness. You can't outlove that void. You can't earn exclusivity from someone addicted to possibility. If she keeps her options open, she's already chosen, and you're just one of them. So stop trying to convince her. Stop waiting for her to be ready. Commitment isn't a phase. It's a mindset. When a woman truly values a man, she doesn't hesitate. She anchors. She invests. She protects what's hers. A woman afraid to commit isn't building her life, she's auditioning men for it. And the longer you stay in her rotation, the more she'll teach you what it feels like to be replaceable. You're not her stability project. You're her safety net. And the sooner you realize that, the sooner you'll walk away with your dignity intact. Number 4, communication deficiency. You start to notice the pattern. Every time something feels off, she changes the subject. When you try to talk, she checks her phone, sighs, or says, "You're overthinking." Eventually, you stop bringing things up altogether, not because they don't matter, but because you've learned they'll never be heard. This is what poor communication really looks like. It's not about someone being quiet. It's about someone refusing to meet you where depth begins. She doesn't want resolution. She wants comfort. She doesn't want understanding. She wants control over the emotional tone of every conversation. In modern psychology, this behavior links to the dopamine loop. We live in a world of instant validation, likes, replies, emojis, so real dialogue feels heavy, slow, and unrewarding. When someone can't sit with discomfort, they replace depth with distraction. That's why she scrolls when you speak. That's why she avoids accountability under the mask of protecting her peace. But here's the paradox. Peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the ability to resolve it. And relationships die not from shouting, but from silence. You'll find yourself apologizing just to avoid another shutdown or over-explaining to someone who never intended to understand. And that's when you realize communication is not about words. It's about respect. A woman who values you will listen to understand, not listen to defend. She won't weaponize silence or punish you with distance every time something uncomfortable surfaces. She'll lean in, not walk out. The woman who can't handle hard conversations isn't peaceful. She's fragile. She doesn't avoid confrontation to save the relationship. She avoids it to protect her ego. If you're constantly talking to walls, stop calling it patience. Call it denial. Because the man who keeps trying to explain himself to someone who doesn't want to understand will eventually forget how to express himself at all. And remember this, when communication dies, connection doesn't fade, it suffocates. If she shuts down every hard conversation, she's not protecting peace, she's protecting her ego. Number 5, judgmental mindset. Listen closely to how she talks about other men. Not what she feels about them, but how she measures them. She'll mention the kind of car they drive, the title on their business card, the size of their house, or how successful they are. And the tone will always carry a trace of comparison, a subtle suggestion that your value, her perception of you, is negotiable. That's not admiration. That's calculation. When a woman constantly evaluates men through metrics of power and image, she's not dating from connection. She's dating from commerce. You're not a man to her. You're a brand. She's running your worth through a mental algorithm. Status, looks, income, social appeal. If you rank high, you're valuable. If you slip, she'll look for an upgrade. This is what modern culture has normalized, where attention has replaced affection and perception has replaced intimacy. In that world, love is no longer about who you are. It's about how well you perform. It's easy to mistake this for ambition or high standards, but there's a difference between expecting quality and quantifying humanity. One builds partnership, the other builds pressure. And here's the dangerous truth. A woman who views you as a symbol will never see you as a soul. You'll always be a reflection of what you provide, never who you are. When her validation comes from status, no achievement will ever be enough, because there's always someone with more. You'll spend years trying to prove you're worthy, not realizing you were auditioning for a role she never planned to keep filled permanently. That's not love. That's leverage. A woman who values you for your status will leave you for an upgrade. And when she does, she won't see it as betrayal. She'll see it as evolution. So when she talks about other men, don't just listen to her words. Listen to her criteria. Because the day you stop performing is the day she starts preparing her exit. Don't chase the woman who measures you. Find the one who values you. Number 6, jealousy. It always begins softly. You sure go out a lot. She seems a little too friendly. Just small comments, gentle, playful, almost affectionate. You laugh it off, thinking it's cute that she cares. But jealousy never stays cute. It evolves. Soon, the tone shifts. Who were you with? Why didn't you text me back? I saw who liked your photo. Suddenly, every move you make requires justification. What once felt like attention now feels like surveillance. Here's what most men don't understand. Jealousy isn't about love. It's about fear. It's the fear of being replaced, of losing control, of realizing she's not the center of your life. At first, she masks it as passion. I just care about you. But underneath that line is insecurity dressed as devotion. Psychologically, this stems from anxious attachment. People who fear abandonment try to manage that fear through control. They test your loyalty not by trusting you, but by trapping you. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually, almost invisibly. You'll cancel plans with friends just to avoid the argument. You'll hesitate to check your phone in front of her. You'll begin censoring your life to protect her comfort, not your peace. That's not love. That's conditioning. In the early stages, she's gathering data. How far can she push before you resist? And when you don't, she learns that control works. The more compliant you become, the tighter she'll grip. Here's the hard truth. Insecure women don't love harder. They control tighter. They'll monitor, accuse, and manipulate, all in the name of caring. But care without trust isn't love. It's ownership. You cannot fix jealousy with reassurance, because reassurance feeds the insecurity it's trying to calm. Every time you explain yourself, you teach her that doubt has power. The only antidote to toxic jealousy is distance. Not silence, not argument. Distance. Because if she can't trust you when you're loyal, she'll never trust you when you're free. And one day, you'll realize you stopped living to avoid her suspicion. That's not love. It's captivity. 7. Lack of empathy. It's one of the quietest red flags, yet one of the most dangerous, because it doesn't shout. It starves. You'll start to notice it in the little moments. When you talk about something that hurt you, she changes the subject. When you open up about your struggles, she sighs, looks away, or calls you dramatic. At first, you excuse it. She's just not used to emotional conversations. But what you're really doing is explaining away emotional absence. A woman without empathy doesn't yell. She withholds. She'll never meet you in your vulnerability because your vulnerability reminds her of her own. and that's a mirror she doesn't want to face. In psychology, this is often rooted in self-absorption or emotional detachment learned from early experiences. When someone has built their identity around self-protection, they see other people's pain not as an opportunity for connection, but as a threat to their emotional control, so she stays distant. You'll find yourself talking less, feeling less, becoming less. The man who once led with confidence begins to shrink into silence. You'll mistake composure for strength, when in truth it's emotional suffocation. And here's the paradox. She'll call you cold when you finally match her energy. She'll accuse you of being disconnected, not realizing she's the one who froze the space between you. Empathy is the foundation of love. Without it, every gesture becomes performance. Every word becomes strategy. You'll start questioning yourself, why your needs feel inconvenient, why your emotions always seem like a burden. A woman who can't comfort your pain will eventually cause it, not because she's cruel, but because indifference, repeated long enough, becomes cruelty in disguise. You cannot teach empathy to someone who sees emotions as weakness. The more you try, the more you'll bleed for a person who never intended to heal with you. If she can't meet your heart halfway, she'll use it as proof you're too much. And when that happens, remember, your silence doesn't protect you. It just erases you. Walk away, not in anger, but in peace. Because loving someone who can't feel for you will slowly make you forget how to feel at all. 8. Attention-seeking behavior. She always needs an audience. It doesn't matter if it's online or in person. She just can't exist in silence. Every outfit, every post, every dramatic sigh is a performance designed to pull eyes toward her. At first, it's intoxicating. Her confidence feels magnetic. Her energy lights up every room. But soon you realize it's not confidence, it's dependence. Attention isn't just something she likes, it's her oxygen. You'll notice 3 versions of it. First, physical performance. The way she dresses, poses, or speaks, always crafted to provoke reaction. Second, digital validation. The constant need to post, to collect likes, to measure worth through numbers. Third, emotional theatrics, stirring conflict, exaggerating pain, creating chaos, just to feel significant again. It's not random, it's survival. For many women, attention equals validation, and validation equals existence. The problem is, the more attention she gets, the emptier she feels when it fades. So she chases it harder, louder, with more intensity. And when you step into her orbit, you become part of the performance. You're not her partner, you're her spotlight. Your admiration becomes background noise to her next audience. Here's the danger. When someone needs constant external validation, they stop valuing internal connection. She doesn't see your loyalty, she sees your usefulness. She doesn't crave intimacy, she craves attention dressed as intimacy. Psychologically, this behavior is tied to narcissistic supply, a cycle of seeking constant approval to avoid the emptiness of self-doubt. You can't compete with that void, because no matter how much you give, it will never fill her. A woman addicted to attention will always need an audience, even when you're standing right there. And when the applause stops, she'll create chaos just to hear the noise again. You'll try to calm her storms, thinking you're protecting her, but you're really just anchoring her stage. If she can't find peace without being seen, she'll destroy yours to be noticed. And that's the cost of loving someone who confuses validation with identity. Your energy becomes the currency she spends to feel alive. So step back, not to punish her, but to protect your sanity. Because the man who constantly competes with the world for her attention will eventually lose himself to it. You've seen these signs before. Maybe you ignored them. Maybe you told yourself she would change. Maybe you wanted to believe that what felt broken could still become beautiful. But every time you overlooked a red flag, you didn't just give her another chance. You gave away another piece of yourself. That's the quiet truth men rarely admit. You don't lose women by walking away. You lose yourself when you don't. Because every moment you stay in something that disrespects you, drains you, or diminishes you, you're teaching the world how to treat you, and more importantly, you're teaching yourself that your boundaries don't matter. You see, red flags aren't warnings about her. They're reflections of what you're willing to tolerate. And until you face that, you'll keep meeting the same person in different bodies, over and over again. You cannot fix what refuses to heal. You cannot love your way into being respected. The moment a woman forces you to trade your peace for her attention or your dignity for her affection, she's not loving you. She's using you. Love isn't supposed to hurt your self-worth. It's supposed to reinforce it. And once you understand that, you'll stop chasing connection in places that keep you small. You'll realize that walking away isn't rejection. It's self-protection. So if this message hits something real in you, don't just nod and move on. Reflect, recalibrate, reclaim your energy. Because every time you choose peace over chaos, you rebuild your armor, piece by piece. Like, share, or comment if this spoke to you. Not for me, for the version of you that's finally done mistaking intensity for intimacy. Because red flags don't destroy you. Ignoring them does.